welcome to Retrobot, the YouTube channel where we feed a friendly space robot a diet of pure nostalgia. So this is kind of an update video, but what I wanted to do is document some of the stuff that I'm doing for Della Duck while I'm doing it. So this, of course, is the continuing quest to turn the Donald Duck Ducktales figure into a, well, here we go, a Della Duck Ducktales figure. And I just got done doing a 3.5-hour live stream. It was a chill stream, you know, very unstructured, just me working and trying to keep an eye on the chat and respond to people when I can, and doing my thing. But we got to the point where I needed to start cooking Sculpey and stuff, and I was going to be away from the camera, so I decided, okay, enough is enough. And so now I'm just documenting what I'm doing. And you might have just heard my toaster oven ding because the shorts are baking, or at least they were baking. Now they're cooling. So anyway, I can let that go for a minute. What I'm working on right now is the robot leg. And let me show you here on the side camera. So this is the leg cut off of the Donald figure, which you can see the Donald figure right here. Used to have a leg, and now I've taken it off. And I've filed off most of the paint, because I want to make sure that I have a good surface to bond to when I'm painting and gluing and stuff like that. And I've also started filing a division. So Della's robot leg is not duck foot shaped. It has kind of a paddle foot. So there's, you know, you see these sort of 3 flipper points, and her robot leg is just sort of trapezoidal at the end. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to file the top of this down and make it thinner, but I'm not going to go all the way through. And so, you know, I'm just going to keep doing this. But the idea is to create a recessed space right here, and then I'm going to cut out a piece of cardboard, which I have some chipboard right here, and I will cut that to fit, cut out a web foot shaped recess from the underside, and then glue that in there soaked with super glue to create a paddle foot for Della. So that's the plan, and so yeah, at this point it's just a matter of kind of taking some time to file into this foot and make it thin enough that I can glue that piece on and have it kind of mesh with that, at least to some degree. I can build this up a bit, but I don't want this foot to be significantly thicker than the regular foot, because in the show it's actually thinner. So that's what we're doing. All right, so you can see here that I have cut away the top layer of the end of the foot, pretty much where the paddle goes, but the paddle should probably stick out just a little bit further than where the toes were. I cut off the toes, just, or the middle toe just right there, because I really didn't need it. So yeah, you can see that it is now kind of recessed a little bit. I may do a little bit more filing just to get it just right, but also cut out a little piece of cardboard. So this will fit on like this, but I can score it. And so we're just going to score it just like that. There we go. There. Okay, so I'm going to score it, and I'm just going to make it a little bit deeper, like that. And now I can split it right there. And just take away a layer of that chipboard. Just like that. And so now we've got that, and we've got this, and so that is going to fit on there just like that. And look at that. That fits beautifully. Yeah, I'll be able to build it up a little bit on the underside here, but it's gonna work just like that. That's pretty awesome. So here's that little cardboard piece. After soaking it with super glue and drying it with baking soda, and then sanding it and sculpting it and kind of working it, I glued on another little layer of cardboard there, and now you can see that it really fits nicely over the end of the foot. I've also done some sanding on the foot to flatten the top, make it a little bit less organic. I added a little bit of super glue and baking soda on the edges here so that I could build up this edge, so I could give it a nice hard edge, because it's supposed to look like a metal plate, not like an organic foot. So that is where that is. The next thing that I'm going to do is I need to add a couple little hinge pieces right here and here. Now, they aren't going to be functional hinges, but if you look at Della Duck, she has a couple little pieces of metal that essentially it's like she stitched together the pieces of metal to give her a functional foot. And so we need to simulate that. And so I've got these tiny pieces of leftover cardboard that I trimmed off of this. So I'm just going to use a little bit of super glue here. Just a little. It won't take much because it's a tiny piece. There we go. And then I'll stick that right there, and I'm going to hold it. And I'm not surprised that it's sticking pretty quickly. I've got baking soda all over the place here. And so then I'll take this one and do the same thing. There we go. Just like that. And put that right there. There we go. And now, since I'm impatient, I'll just use a little bit of baking soda to kick that and really squeeze it together. There we go. And so now what I can do is I can take these and I can just cut them off. Right like that. And so that will go on there to make the foot. I'm really liking that. I think it's going to be awesome. Alright, so here's that little piece. Now that I've cut those pieces off and done a little bit of sanding, and here's the foot. So we can actually stick these together There we go. And now, there. And then we'll just take this and put it right on there, like that. Now, next thing I need to do is fill in the sides here. So I'm just going to take some more super glue. And now I've got some baking soda on there. And then there's still a little bit of a gap here, so let's just add a little bit more. And we'll do the same thing on this side. And then add a little bit more. There we go. You see how that super glue and baking soda becomes a really nice sculptable surface. And so there we go. That is a foot. Well, a robot foot. Here you can see that I have cut out very, very thin strips of masking tape. Just about maybe 3/32 of an inch wide, and wrapped it around the bottom, and then sealed it with super glue. So that gives it the wrapped up look of the lower portion of Della's leg. And then I also sculpted, this is that little piece of Sculpey that I baked, and I've drilled a hole through it, and I've done some sanding, and so that just fits right down there to create the knee joint. And so at this point, this will get painted. And you know, I might extend the peg just a little bit so that I can make sure that it fits securely. But that might be enough, actually. So that is Della's robot leg. All right, it has been about a week since I recorded that last footage, and I worked this week. Haven't made any progress since then on Della. So this is where we're at. I'll show you on the other camera. There you can see her. I've pretty much put all the pieces together. I'm noticing a few subtle things. For one thing, I feel like the scarf is just a little bit longer than it should be. Yeah, in the pictures that I see, her scarf actually comes down to a little bit more, a little bit higher up in relation to that that second button. And you can see that I've got the foot in place. One thing that I'm noticing is that initially I was going to hollow out a little bit of the shorts so that the knee could get further up in there. But really, because of the knee, it gives her a little bit of a longer leg on this side. And Della's legs appear to be a little bit longer than Donald's. So what I think I'm going to do, as much as this kind of scares me, I think I'm going to cut off this leg and then make it longer. And the place where it's cut off will be up in the shorts, so nobody will even be able to see it. Once it's all glued together, it should be good and strong, and I shouldn't have any problems. So I think that that will help the character's proportions just a little bit. But you can see her with her hair in place, her scarf in place. So we're getting close, but there is still a little bit more stuff that needs to happen. So I'm going to do that sculpting work, and then I think I'm going to wrap up this video before maybe recording a separate set of footage for a different video showing the painting process. So that's the plan. All right. So yeah, it seems like this rear-facing end of the scarf should end right about here, just above the lower button. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim that one right there, just like that. And we'll score this here with the X-Acto. With the hobby knife. This really isn't an X-Acto. I got this at Harbor Freight. I like this one. It has this rubber grip, but the rubber grip always wants to slip. And so what I did was I put some super glue on the aluminum shaft inside and then slipped the rubber grip back over top of that. And that seems to have done a good job of holding everything in place. That has made this X-Acto, well, this hobby knife, a lot more workable. If with the grip slipping, it was a little maddening and not really very practical. But once I solved that, I really got to like it. So you can see I've taken out that corner. Now this should go down up to just about here on the button. So we're going to shorten it by about that much. And I'm just going to keep digging into the Sculpey as gently as I can. Try to get a nice edge. I'm still going to sand it, but I don't want it to just break uncontrollably and then end up cracking and taking off a corner or something like that that I'll have to fill in. Of course, if that happens, I can fix it, but it would be nice to not have to fix it. Oh, look at that. That's perfect. All right, so now we can take this off of Donald. And Donald is that the figure's name while it's in flux? A little bit Donald, a little bit Della, Donald, or Donna. I think Donald works a little bit better in this case. And get this piece right here. I think that is a little bit better. Let's put it in place. So yeah, there we go. That is a much more proportional scarf to Della's. So so I'm happy with that. That's really good. So the next thing that I need to do here is I need to fill in the rest of the pant leg on the shorts. And so I made these little pieces here that I squished into the sides of the shorts and then I baked them. But they have gotten kind of, so they're going to need some sculpting. And I'll show you where we're at. So I'm going to start with this one for the leg that is not cut off. And you can see how this this doesn't really fit that well. Yeah, it's kind of amazing. I guess this leg was longer when I made this piece. I did cut that shorter, so that makes a little bit more sense. But you see how it doesn't really seem to even nest in with the grooves that are there. So I need to work on that. So here we go. I'm just gonna do that, and now I can take this piece and I can cut right along that score. I'm still gonna work it though. I want to fill in that joint. I want it to be nice and tight around that leg. And so I just took a wafer out of that, and now see how that fits so much better just by doing that. Yeah, that's very, very close. So I'm going to continue working with this in that fashion, just removing tiny bits of material until everything really fits. All right, I have done a lot of carving and sanding on this, both inside and out, and I've also done some on the pant leg to make these pieces fit and also reduce the thickness of that pant leg, because her shorts aren't supposed to be like super huge. They just kind of stick out probably about, like, if you divide the width of the pant leg into 5 segments, 5 equal segments, 1/5 is the width of the duck leg, 1/5 to 1/3, somewhere in there. And then on either side you'd have 2/5 to 1/3, 2/5 to 1/3 on the other side with the... So anyway, that's the proportions, and so I'm kind of correcting that because it was they were pretty big pants. So here we go. This is that pant leg, which, this part I didn't change that much, but this part you can see that I have trimmed down a lot, and look at the way that fits in there. I mean, it is nice and tight up against the leg. It now conforms to the rest of the shape here. You can see that, if I push those together, they go together really nicely. So that will make for a nice glue joint, and you can see it on the back side too. It's starting to fit. Looks like I could maybe do a little bit of trimming right back here, right there, just a tiny bit, and I'll hit that with the sandpaper. There we go. And see how that fits now. And oh, look at that. See? That's nice. That is what we want. So I'm going to do the same thing to the other short leg, and then I'm probably going to bake these a little bit longer because they're still a little bit soft. And then it's well, is that all the sculpting? That might be all the sculpting. Well, I might need to do a little bit on the knee here, put in some detail lines, and of course I was talking about cutting this leg and extending it so that it will end up being the same length as this leg. So yeah, there is still stuff to do. So here you can see that I've Now done the other side. That piece just fits in just like that. And so Della is now going to have shorts, and then the leg will plug in right there like that. And I'll make sure that it kind of friction fits in there. So the next thing, I'm going to cut this leg. Yeah. So I guess I can just do that. Go. Cut the leg like that. And now I can make this leg just a little bit longer so that the length will match this one. That's going to be good. I've put those pieces of leg into the toaster oven. They're baking just to make them a little bit more solid. So I need to do just a little bit of detail sculpting on the inside of the knee here, because Della's knee joint actually has some little banded metal on the inside and what looks like a rivet on the outside. So that's what I'm going to work on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the leg here, and there is a divide right here, and it's not a straight line, it's actually a curve. So you can see that I'm just kind of scoring it with the back of the hobby knife, the back of the blade right here. And I have to be very, very careful, because when you're doing something like this, it's really easy for the knife to go in the wrong direction. But the advantage is that this scrapes away a channel rather than just cutting into the Sculpey. And that is what I want. You see how it kind of wants to jump around a little bit? So I'm just going a little bit at a time. Now, I don't have any references of what the back of the knee looks like. So I'm just going to imagine what the artists were thinking when they put this detail on there, and just kind of decide on my own what I think should be there based on what I see on the front. There. Okay, so now there are a few little bands, what looks like little bands of metal. So I'm just going to indicate those with a couple little lines here like this. There we go. So there's the details. Of course, I'll continue to work with them to make the lines smoother and more consistent. But then there's a little rivet that shows up right about here. And I'm going to make that just a little circle right like that. And the question is there anything on this side? And to be honest, I just don't know. I'm thinking maybe a smaller circle to continue the look of this being some kind of a hinged joint, but maybe not duplicating those bands of metal. So here is that knee joint. You can see the details are cleaned up a bit and a bit deeper. And now I also got these inner pieces of pant leg out of the toaster oven. So here's a happy little accident. Initially, it wasn't my intention to cut off both legs. And I wasn't sure where I was going to cut them off. I knew that the robot leg I was going to cut off, but I didn't know where. And so I made these pant legs to just go on over top of the leg. But now with the legs cut off, they can slip on with these inside parts in place, which means that I can glue these together like this and still not have to worry about being able to get it on and off the leg. You can see that it goes on and off just fine. And that's going to make it a lot easier to work with and a lot easier to make this joint cleaner and better looking. So I'm going to glue those into place, and then we'll go from there. There she is, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing here. And I think that once I've got the bomber jacket painted and the shorts painted and some details on the face done and the hair and everything, then I think that it's really going to look like Della. So that is where we are at, and that's where I'm going to close this video. So I'll do another video after everything's all done. I'll show some of the painting process, but I think that I'm going to unveil her during the live stream that's coming up this Friday. So if you're watching this after that's happened, then just look in the library for Monica's birthday live stream. Monica's live stream, all DuckTales stuff. It's going to be awesome. And then I'll probably post the painting video after that because I want the unveiling to be during the live stream. But if you want to see the process, you can see that like after we do the live stream. So thank you so much for watching this process. This is Clay Carlino telling you to keep it retro bot, because it's retro bot, and that's what we're retro bot. It is called Retro Bot. That's the name of the channel.